Today, guys, I'm going to be talking about my 1991 Dodge Daytona ES. Welcome to the Mopar Machines channel, where we love the old Mopars. The first generation Dodge made of these Daytonas when it was in 1984. Now, Chrysler made one from 1984 to 1986 called the Chrysler Laser. It was basically just a rebadged Daytona that had the top trim level already base on it. But these cars went through 3 total facelifts. One in 1986 that changed the headlights to these pop-up headlights and changed the front bumper area to look like this more than the 4 headlight versions, and this took place in the 87 model years when they actually changed them. But then in 1992 they switched to a fully complacent headlight that was always like open and just a normal headlight on a car pretty much. But through the years there were a couple different models. Now originally you had the Turbo Z and a base model, and you had a Carroll Shelby version of the Turbo Z with stiffer suspension. And that's really all the difference was between the Turbo Z and Turbo Z CS. But then they switched to where they had a Shelby Z instead of a Turbo Z, which then there's a base model, Shelby Z, and they also came out with the Pacifica. In the later years, they came out with this ES model, like this car here, which came with a 3-liter Mitsubishi V6. Now, obviously, these are not the most sought-after models, as these cars aren't really sought after anyways, so most people are going to be looking for the turbocharged 4-cylinder Shelby versions. But later on, after Shelby left Dodge, they turned to an IROC RT. Now, the IROC RT had what they called the Turbo 3 2.2-liter 4-cylinder, which basically just meant that they sent a head over to Lotus and in Europe over there, and they designed them ahead to put on their current 2.2-liter engines, which were dual overhead cams and ended up producing about 224 horsepower. Now, these cars were actually pretty quick, around a 14.6 quarter-mile time, I do believe, which for 1992 to 3 was pretty fast. I mean, it's a lot different than today's new cars, but like I said, this car here, it is just equipped with the Mitsubishi 3-liter V6, but I mean, this car is about as solid as they get, no rust coming out. I mean, as you know, all these old 80s and 90s Chrysler products had some bad clear coat on them, but that was the major issue with these cars. With the 3-liter Mitsubishi V6 like this one, you could either get the manual 5-speed that Chrysler had used for a while, or Chrysler had a new transmission, which this has, which is an automatic overdrive transmission with 4 speeds instead of the normal 3 speeds that you'd get if you were, say, getting a 2.5-liter 4-cylinder instead of this engine. Now, these cars did have a few downfalls with that transmission since it was new. There's a little solenoid down right here, if you look right in there, that will go bad and cause it to shift wrong or anything like that. But overall, these transmissions wouldn't just fail on you. Most of the time they would just send you in a limp mode, which is just locking it in second gear. But anyway, in 91, this was obviously one of the mid-tier engine levels, because you could get a 2.5-liter 4-cylinder with a naturally aspirated, no turbo, which I think made about 98 horsepower. And then you could step up to this engine, which is a naturally aspirated 3-liter V6 with fuel injection. That makes right around, I think, 146 horsepower, 171 foot-pound of torque. So these cars weren't fast like this one here, but, I mean, this is a very drivable car because the torque is made at 2,800 RPM, so I mean, you're getting that torque pretty much instantly. But then if you step it up to the Shelby Z, you got a turbocharged 2.5-liter. It's made 154 horsepower and 210 foot-pound of torque. And then in 92, they switched to the IROC RT, like I said, that made 224 24 horsepower, and I think right around 200 foot-pound of torque. I'm not 100% sure on that, but yeah, I mean, overall, these engines are pretty solid. I mean, never had any issues with this so far, but the 2.5 liters were put into blend head gaskets with the turbocharged versions. Obviously, it's turbocharged, forced induction. But, I mean, overall, it is a very good car. I mean, yeah. Now, what the ES package got you is these ground effects down here. And, I mean, you can still option them out differently, but the ES was kind of in between the base and Shelby, where I rock. And it got these ground effects, which still look pretty cool on there, but, I mean, overall, the ES package is more of a trim level, and then the Shelby was the actual performance. But overall, like I said, these are really good cars. And I'd like to say thank you guys so much for watching, and please like and subscribe, and thank you guys for supporting the channel so much. All right, I'll catch you guys in the next one.